In this video, I'm going to show you the easy way to install a BX expanded Piranha Tooth Bar, which we've got right here. So I've taken my tractor bucket off and just tipped the edge up. And what's nice about that, you can take the BX expanded Piranha Tooth Bar and then just slide it right onto the edge, and it's going to hold itself in place like you can see here. So I just tilted that tractor edge up, and then I put it right on top, and it holds itself in place. Now, ideally, if you've got a 2 by 4 or a piece of wood, it's good to make sure you've got this hammered securely in place. Just give it a gentle hammer to make sure it locks onto that edge and there's no dirt or anything holding it up from that edge. Once you do that, you're going to need to mark with a punch exactly where you're going to drill the holes. So there's two holes on each side of the BX expanded Piranha Tooth Bar that you are going to actually drill out in your bucket, and then you're going to secure that cutting edge with those two holes to your tractor bucket. So what I've got here is my punch, and basically what I did is there's two little pieces of paper that they give you the layout or the template for the bolt that goes through there. I just slid that under there, got it in the approximate location, and then used a center punch to actually mark where that is, so that when I drill where these holes are, I'm going to have a nice drill starting point so that drill bit doesn't wobble around while I'm doing anything. And you can see it's really easy when you've got the bucket up like this to put that tractor edge on, because it's held in place exactly where it should be. Now, before you put the edge on, I do recommend that you knock off any kind of clay or dirt that may be stuck to that tractor bucket edge. It's just going to make it a lot easier to install this and make sure that you get everything flush. So right here, I'm still marking exactly where I'm going to put that center punch, and then I'm going to hammer it in place so that I can get the Piranha Bar installed. So here you go, you can see me hitting it a couple times and marking that location, and then once we've done that, we're going to be ready to start drilling. So I'm putting this on a TYM 2515H tractor. This is the bucket that came with the tractor, and it uses a 61 3/4 inch dimension for the cutting edge for the BX expanded Piranha Tooth Bar. Now that we've marked those holes with a center punch and we've got a divot on the steel, we can drill the pilot hole for the larger bit that we're going to need. So here I'm just drilling the pilot hole with a drill where I've marked it with that center punch, so that I will then be able to move up to a step bit to drill out a larger hole. You just can't start with a step bit because you're going to get too much wobble. It won't be accurate. Whereas if you use a smaller bit that fits where you have that center punch dipple, it's going to be much easier to get the drill and the hole aligned where you need it to be. So you can see we have it go right through there, and now we're on to the other side where I marked it with a center punch again, and we're just going to be drilling through until we get all the way through to the bucket. Once we get that done, we're going to be ready for the step bit. So you can actually order a step bit with this when you order the cutting edge. I do recommend doing that because the bit that they're going to provide you is going to be a harder, better steel than what you're going to find at a lot of big box stores. So I do recommend getting a good step bit for this, because as you see, when I start with my step bit, no problem, it does okay. But surprise, this is a Harbor Freight step bit. I've had it for a little bit, and eventually this just gives out. The steel was too hard for it. You can see right there it broke. Luckily, I had another one. I really had to jam it in there to get it to work, but you probably are better off going with a specialized step bit that is harder steel, or the one that they provide you when you buy the cutting edge or the option that BX Expanded gives you, because it is a harder steel designed to be able to go through something like a tractor bucket, which is fairly hard steel. And this is once again for a TYM 2515 tractor bucket. But you can get these edges in all shapes and sizes, so they'll fit Kubotas, John Deere's, Massey Ferguson, Mahindra, whatever Coyote, whatever tractor you've got, you can get a custom bar made for your dimensions for your bucket, or a skid steer as well. And I got this after looking at a lot of different reviews. And while in this video, we're just showing you how to install it, I will say after I got this installed, I used it right away. It is a huge difference in the performance of the bucket and what you can do with it. I was thoroughly impressed, and probably the best money I've spent on an upgrade for the tractor. So we're just drilling out the other hole on the other side. Um, it says you need to use the step bit until you've got a 3/4 hole. The bolts are 5/8. I found that if you get a little bit over 5/8, you're going to be just fine. Here, I'm just getting some of the metal shavings off. So now that we've got both of our holes where they need to be on the bucket, we're just going to put that Piranha Bar tooth bar back on the bucket. And you can see it's nice because I've got it tilted up. You don't need to have any free hands or clamps or anything to hold it in place. It just sits right there and makes it really easy to install. So personally, if you watch other ways that people install the BX Piranha Tooth Bar or the BX Piranha Cutting Edge, you're going to see a lot of people leave it on their tractor. I do think that this is the easiest way because, as you can see, I didn't need to have any extra hands. I didn't need to have any clamps, and the force of gravity just holds this in the position it exactly needs to be in. So here I'm putting that bolt in, giving it a test fit. And like I said, I didn't go the full 3/4 inches. The bolts are 5/8 on each side, at least for this bucket. And I drilled it out just a little bit over 5/8, and that's perfectly fine for my application. And put the bolt through, put the washers on, and then I put the nut on. And this thing is now ready to go on that side. I just hand tightened it down, and then I'm going to come back and make sure that I wrench it down. But I wanted to get it in on both sides before I tighten it all the way. And that's because there is a little bit of a tolerance in the bucket and bucket edge for getting this installed. Like I said, the bucket is actually 62 inches wide. The Piranha Bar, they want you to order it a 1/4 inch smaller than the actual width of your bucket. So I ordered the cutting edge from BX Piranha expanded tooth bar at 61 3/4 for a 62-inch bucket width, and it fits perfectly. Now there is a little lock washer there that I needed to hammer out so that I could get the thread started, just hammer it down a little bit, but after that, no problem. And then it fits right in place, and I'm able to get these really tight. So I mess around with it a minute to get the thread started, and that's just a matter of the tolerances like we were talking about. And that lock washer is just a little bit, oops, there it goes, is just sticking up a little bit so that it makes it hard to get those initial threads engaged. So I hit it with a hammer to get it a little bit flatter. And eventually I got it flat enough that I could get it onto the bucket and get that threaded in on that side. And now here we're just taking 2 wrenches so that we can tighten this down all the way. So I tighten it, let's say 50% of the way on the right edge, and then I'm going to tighten it 50% or so on the left edge, and then I'm going to come back and tighten them both all the way so that we've got a nice firm grip on each side of the bucket. I will say, you wouldn't think it from looking at the video or from the product literature that this edge would lock in so tight being installed on the sides of the buckets, but it really locks in tight to that front edge. There's no wobble, there's no wiggle room, and the tolerance of that 1/4 inch is just about perfect because once you put tension on those bolts, when you screw them tight, it kind of sucks the bar outwards and the bucket in ever so slightly, where it's just a perfect fit. There's not a gap on either side, and the steel just kind of bends together, and it really feels secure on there once you've got this bolted on. And what I like about this is that if for whatever reason you need to take this off, you can do so very easily with the 2 bolts that hold it in place. Yet it feels very firm and secure when it's on there, because on the back side of the bucket edge, it's locked in place there, but then you can see you've got these, I guess, teeth protrusions that stick up from the teeth that really lock it into the front edge as well. So there's no wiggle room when you're digging with this. Like I said, after I got this completely installed, I used it right away. I was super excited. Was tearing up some brush, knocking over some small saplings, and this thing did a phenomenal job. I was impressed at the increase in performance for digging in soil. So I've got primarily a sandy soil, and it cuts right through that. But as you can see, there's snow on the ground, so the ground is pretty much frozen. And the additional pressure that you're able to get with that cutting edge was able to go right through some lightly frozen ground with no problem. So here you can see I'm just giving it that final tighten and torque on both sides to make sure that it's checked, and it's going great. So if you like this video on how to install your BX expanded Piranha Tooth Bar or Piranha Cutting Edge or Piranha Bar, please subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and would appreciate you if you follow this channel. Leave any questions or comments in the comments below, and we'll help answer you those questions and help you get your Piranha Bar installed on your tractor bucket. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.